Well, it looks like the Los Angeles Lakers could be interested in adding Chris Paul to their roster this offseason, which is exactly what we're going to talk about here on Warriors Today by Chat Sports. I am your host, Allie Barefoot. I'm going to be breaking down what the Warriors should do with Chris Paul in the offseason leading up to the 2024 NBA regular season. But first, I want to hear from you. That's why we have Warriors Today by Chat Sports. I talk, show you some facts, and you guys talk down below. But first things first, pick one action the Warriors should do with Chris Paul. Type K for keep, type W for waive, type T for trade with his non-guaranteed $30 million contract this season. Let's go ahead and break down the actual rumor here from Eric Pincus of Bleacher Report saying, I would be remiss without mentioning Chris Paul is a real possibility. Of course, talking to the Los Angeles Lakers. There is a reasonable chance he gets traded or just cut by the Warriors. He and LeBron obviously have a close relationship. There is a universe where the Lakers sign Chris Paul. It makes a lot of sense to me. Is Chris coming for the minimum? I don't know. I don't want to say he comes cheap to the Lakers, but in the absence of a better offer, I could also see that. So now, they did follow up to say that there is a real possibility that Chris Paul could possibly go to the Lakers, and I do see where he says it makes sense. The fact that he and LeBron have played together, the fact that they're not really happy with D'Angelo Russel, could really be looking for a veteran point guard to take over that backcourt or else just get a really good role player, which is what the Warriors have had this last season. And it is no secret that Chris Paul's future is very uncertain with the Warriors right now. We know that Mike Dunleavy, they want to make some changes in this offseason. $30 million a year seems like a lot to be paying a role player, especially one that does not start right now for the Warriors. And the $30 million for Chris Paul is not guaranteed until June 28th. So a move here for CP3 could be coming a lot sooner than a lot of Warriors fans might expect. So I want to make sure you guys know everything there is to know about CP3 moving forward. So to keep you guys in the loop, Golden State Warriors can actually waive Chris Paul's $30 million salary just by cutting him. It's not guaranteed. Last year's $30.8 million was. He is rumored to have shopped Chris Paul at the NBA trade deadline. There's no secret that Dunleavy tried to get some resources to the Warriors this year. Of course, they're going to use Chris Paul's veteran asset and his $30 million to go out and get possibly a bigger player, but nobody did bite. And then they could trade him for other assets this offseason. I was talking with Bulls Now host Patrick Seatman, talking about, hey, maybe they could add Chris Paul, $30 million a year, tack it onto a younger player, and go out and get a major superstar in the NBA right now. But there are several things the Warriors can decide to do. So I want to ask you guys, with that $30 million a year, knowing they could trade that and go get somebody that's worth the exact same or maybe even more if they add on other players, who would you want on the Warriors roster for Chris Paul's salary of $30 million? Go ahead and comment that down below. While you guys are doing that, I'm going to talk about what the Warriors will do with Chris Paul and what I think they should do with him moving forward. But before we get into that, I want to tell you guys about our sponsor here on Warriors Today by Chat Sports. I'm going to tell you guys all about the #1 daily fantasy sports app in America because I love this app, let me tell you. I'm talking about Prize Picks, of course, and here's how you play. It's super easy. All you got to do is pick more or less. That's it. On a player's projected stat for that night, and you can win up to 100 times your money. How good does that sound? You got to have at least 4 correct picks to make it up to 100 times your money, but I'm just focusing on 2 picks right now. I did combine the WNBA with the NBA postseason. There's also NHL, MLB, Call of Duty, League of Legends, MLS. There are several sporting events you guys can go on ahead and choose from right now. But I have Clark looking for the first win here for the Indiana Fever to have more than 19.5 points. Anthony Edwards, he's been crushing it for the Minnesota Timberwolves so far in this postseason to have more than 3.5 boards. I got game 1 later tonight going up against the Dallas Mavericks. Of course, it's also a Goblin, which is actually an easier pick. Doesn't pay out as much, but it is an easier pick. And you know what? I just want to be successful. So if you guys want to copy, feel free. If you want to make your own, go ahead and test your skills at prizepicks.com/CLNS. Use that promo code CLNS for a first-time deposit match up to $100. And it's super easy with quick withdrawals, easy gameplay, and an enormous selection of players and projected stat types. That's why I play Prize Picks. Go ahead and find out why you do too. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy. Let's talk about the 39-year-old who said he does not plan on retiring just yet. Chris Paul has been in this league 19, 20 years without a championship ring. He did come to a championship contending team, the Golden State Warriors, who have dominated in the last decade, but CP3 just really didn't push the needle for me or the Warriors so far this regular season. However, his advanced stats, when you look at it, really is not bad at all. His catch and shoot from a three-point line, 42%, which is really great, adding on to what Steph Curry can do from downtown, which of course we all know. His mid-range is even better, 63% from the field when he's shooting inside that three-point line within 10 feet. And then his effective, which is overall field goal percentage here, 52.4%. When you look at that, CP3 has a lot of resources and assets still to offer. Do I think he fits in well with the Warriors? Unfortunately, I don't. I really expected this to be a lot different than it was. But if CP3 still has the assets to be included in a trade, I definitely think you might as well shop it. Here's what CP3 had to say at the end of the Warriors season after they lost the Kings in the play-in tournament. When it's time for that, Mike Dunleavy and Steve Kerr will have a conversation, and we'll see what it looks like. So obviously the three are going to sit down ahead of June 28th, figure out what's best for Chris Paul, his family, who he said he has spent the most time with him this last season because he is now within the same state as his family is. So it'll definitely be interesting to see what these three decide to do with Chris Paul moving forward, and just hopefully you do hope that it is amicable, and you do hope that Chris Paul is happy with the decision that they have made and he's made. But if it was me, I would at least want some assets for Chris Paul. There is some success in just waiving him and saving that $30 million a year, obviously, with the Warriors, who had the highest payroll last year in the NBA. But I think I would really like to see what else is out there that could possibly go for a $30 million player. Because you're telling me there's nobody out there that wants a veteran point guard in Chris Paul? He still has some talent and a lot left here in the tank in his last couple of years in the NBA. So what could the Golden State Warriors get with Chris Paul? I don't know how many NBA teams would be willing to take on the $30 million salary for possibly a role player. In some scenarios, you could get a starter out of Chris Paul. He did hop in when there were a couple of injuries there with the Warriors, but you could include him in a trade for a superstar that's worth over $30 million if you pair him with a younger talent like a Moses Moody, a Brandon Pajemski, a Jonathan Kuminga. But that's a whole other conversation whether or not you want to trade those three young guys with Chris Paul. But I'm not sure the Lakers can commit to a $30 million contract either. If they are interested in bringing Chris Paul to the roster, I'm wondering if it's more of an interest after the Warriors do waive him. Maybe they can sign CP3 to a vet minimum. Kelly Oubre Jr. signed a vet minimum with the Philadelphia 76ers, and he is a lot younger than Chris Paul is as well. So it makes me really intrigued here to see what the Lakers could possibly do to bring Chris Paul to LA, keep him in the same state, keep him in the same conference, and see if Chris Paul still has a little bit left to go. Because if he's 39 years old and doesn't plan on retiring just yet, it'll be super interesting to see what they can kind of pull together to make this trade happen. Let's look at a possible trade idea that could work out for both teams here. D'Angelo Russell, who the Lakers have outright said they just want to part ways with Russell sometime in this offseason. Gabe Vincent as well. And then you will send Chris Paul. And I'd put a 2027 first-round pick, maybe thinking that would be enough. They might want a second-round pick. They might not want any first picks at all here. But overall, these salaries do match up. Yes, you would be getting 2 point guards, but here's the beauty of it. You can just pull a nice trade and flip. You can use a Gabe Vincent or a D'Angelo Russell to immediately get another player here in the NBA. You don't have to necessarily keep them on your roster, but this would get rid of Chris Paul's $30 million a year. You would tack on two players for about $30 million a year, and I do think you could have some resources and assets here with a D'Angelo Russell or a Gabe Vincent in the backcourt with Steph Curry. But this is just a possible trade idea. How do you guys feel about it? Let me know in the comment section down below. Would you accept this trade? Type A for accept. Type D for decline, and feel free to comment. Let me know what you would rather see. If there's a player on the Lakers you would rather see as well, but I know the Lakers are pretty high up on Jared Vanderbilt, so the next salary guy that does match would be Gabe Vincent. Overall, if it was my choice, I probably would just waive Chris Paul just to make it a little bit easier. Yes, I would want some assets for Chris Paul, but I'm not sure what exactly you can go out and get for him as of right now. So ultimately, you are going to have to just possibly waive him, save yourself the $30 million a year that you would pay Chris Paul, and maybe make a move here before the offseason starts. Because there is no secret that Mike Dunleavy and Joe Lacob want to really shed some salaries this season. And because the Warriors need to cut back on costs, it could be hard to trade CP3. And he didn't push the needle. He didn't. He was a role player for the Warriors. He stepped in. He led the team in assists. He helped out in scoring, but it wasn't enough to get the job done. And the Warriors now have a small window with Steph Curry and retirement to get the job done once more. If anything happens here with the Golden State Warriors, I got you guys covered. I promise I'll do all the work for you. All you guys have to do to be completely in the know is hit that sub button for me.